ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate katham. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्. सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Anma bodham, the translation in Tamil by Bhagavan of the original work Atma bodha by Adi Shankara. We have come to verses 38, 39, 40. Having looked at verse 37, which summed up the neti neti and iti iti described in the discarding the unreal and the holding of the real, described in verses 31 through 36. நிரந்தரம் இவ்வாறு நிகழ்த்தப்படுமோ பிரம்மமே யானாவன் என்னும் உறுதி அழிக்கும் அறியாமை அலைவுகளை நோய்கள் ஒழிக்கும் ரசாயனம் ஒத்து. Like that very acceptable, even desirable medicine called Rasayana, which not only cures the illness but also is very acceptable to the body and the tongue. Like that is the Brahma Bhavana, that discarding the unreal and holding on to the real takes us to real happiness like that. Rasayanam Ottu. 3 verses to finish off the segment. See, this finishing off or not of these segments is not agreed upon by all the people who have commented on these works. But we can take that only indicates the nuanced way in which the great Guru has written the work. That it not only indicates that they are not able to exactly say where the line is drawn, that those verses are so close to each other that some rank it in the previous segment. But if we are logically oriented, we will say how creative that work is. If we are oriented towards God, we will say the divine nature of the work, whereby the Parayana itself leads us to the breath of Ishvara. The divinity of that work is revealed in such areas where even great commentators, great in the sense they have lived to comment on Anma bodham, for a majority of their spiritual work, even such people are not agreed on where exactly one segment ends and the next segment begins. So some say that this segment on the Neti Neti and Iti Iti or Nididhyasana begins in 31 and ends in 40. Some say begins in 30 and ends in 40. Some go up to 41. Doesn't really matter. We will take 37 to be completed, 38, 39, 40 to be taken up as the end of the segment. Before we go into that, 2 teachings from Bhagavan to hold, which will clarify what we have to do as Nididhyasana in these 3 verses. 2 teachings of Bhagavan, which are so wonderful as bridge between the Bhakti and Jnana margas. One is the Atma Shakti. What kind of spirit is that? Like there is the Jiva, which is unreal, is what is said, and to be discarded along with the other koshas. And one of the final things to be discarded according to the acharyas. And if you discard that, then kartarutva is gone. The whole thing collapses. But then, what is this Jiva Bhava and what is this Atma Shakti? Or what is this, that final spirit that we are seeking as Atma bodham? In Ramana Sadguru, we find one of the indicators. The indicators are strewn all over, but I would like us to hold on to that. There is a verse which says, Pindam meviya nadane Brahmandam. Who is Ramana Sadguru? Ramana Sadguru is one who has seen that the Pindam meviya nadan himself is the Brahmandam meviya nadan. Brahmandam meviya nadanai கண்டு நின்று கனிந்து உள் ஏகமே காட்சியாய் களி கொண்டவன். Who is Ramana Sadguru? He is one who sees that the Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same. That is, it is the Paramatma only that is real. And that alone is the truth. Pindam meviya nadan is the Jivatma. Brahmandam meviya nadan. For the moment, let us consider that as the Atma Shakti that we are seeking to hold in Iti. The neti is clearly known. The Panchakoshas, including the Jiva Bhava, which is taken to be the causal body at the root, all that to be discarded, holding the iti. What is that iti? That is Brahmandam Mevi Nadi. Now, all that is all right. What does it practically mean to us when we go holding the Atma Bhava as in this work, or Atma Vichara as in Bhagavan's teachings of self-enquiry? What is it that differentiates between our sadhana and siddhate, or differentiates between our jiva bhava and that which we are said to really be? The clue given the whole works of Bhagavan is that in the Atma Bhava, in the Atma Shakti, there is no Anya Bhava. In the Mayaham of Arunachala, there is no Anya Bhava. The whole cosmos is his body. Just as the Jiva permeates this small body and the Sukshma Sharira made up of thoughts, identities, the Brahmandam Nadan doesn't have I another. That just as we perceive the different parts of our body, like the hands, what is, suppose there is a pain in the knee, we know. But then that doesn't interfere with our knowledge of I, with the knowledge that we are that. In the similar way, the Ishvara may have knowledge of all the happenings, but that is not his true mind, the true Sukshma Sharira. The true Sukshma Sharira is the I permeating all the knowledge that he has. So, the Brahmandam Nadan or the Atma Shakti is of the nature of this Purana, the I, the Ananya Bhava, and the Jiva we can verify whenever we have me and another. The another can come through senses, can come through breath, can come through emotions, can come through thoughts. In fact, all the earlier explanations like emotion, senses are all manomayam, says Bhagavan. They are all permeated by thought, and thought itself is permeated by Atma Shakti, by the I. So, whenever we see Anya Bhava, the another thought, then we have to hold the source of our I, so that that I, which is the common Atma of the Jiva and the other, is held. And keep on holding that till there is no other to see, till one is identified with the Brahmandam Meviya Nadan. The Pindam Meviya Nadan is to be first held. You don't use the Pindam Meviya Nadan for various acquisitions, property, money, friends, that, this. No use. That starting consciousness itself is discontented. Whatever it will know and hold on will continue to be of the same nature. So instead of that, the true fulfillment, true Ananda, which will be mentioned in verse number 40, will be to identify with the Brahmandam Meviya Nadan. That is point number 1. That is, Pindam Meviya Nadane, Brahmandam Meviya Nadanai, Kandu, Nindru, Kanindu, Ul Ekamai, Kachi Kana Vendu. What is the sadhaka to do? He is to do what Ramana Sadguru did. That what Ramana Sadguru is. We have to identify with the aham. The second point to be noted, which will come in verse 40, I'll just mention it. It is in talk 24 about the nature of the I. The nature of the I, there is some question answer from questions from a foreign lady, and she asks about the nature of the I. And Bhagavan says, how is the I felt, or something like that? And Bhagavan says that thoughts must cease. Thoughts must cease and reason vanish. Reason is intellect. Thoughts must cease and reason vanish for the I to rise up and be felt. Thoughts must cease and reason vanish for the I, the Brahmandam Neviyanadan. The Brahmandam Neviyanadan or Arunachala's Meyaham will be felt only when thoughts cease and reason vanishes. It is a feeling and not a reasoning. It is a feeling. Therefore, we understand how Lakshmi the cow is abiding in the Brahmandam Meviya Nadan. She doesn't need the intellect. She doesn't need reasoning. The reasoning has to vanish. Then the Bhava Bhala, the Chidananda Swarupa of Arunachala raises and can be felt by that pure consciousness. It is felt and identified with as a bhava, as a feeling, not as a thought or reasoning, is one other point I want us to remember as we go towards the finishing touches of this segment of Nididhyasana. So let us now go into the verses. Point number 1, Pindam Neviyanadan is false, Brahmandam Neviyanadan is iti. Brahmandam Neviyanadan is felt, not thought of or reasoned out. Is felt as a par, is felt as a Chidananda. So let us go. Anburu Unilenai Anbakkaritharu. It is the love of Arunachala that raises and consumes the jiva and shines as the Purna Ananda. Let us go into the verses. 38. Ekanta desat tirundasai indriveli pogadu vendru porigalai ekamai andamil aanmavai anniyamil pundiyanai sindik வேண்டும் தெரி ஏகாந்த தேசத்து இருந்தாசை இன்றி வெளி போகாது வென்று பொறிகளை ஏகமாய் அந்தமில் ஆன்மாவை அந்நியமில் குந்தியனாய் சிந்திக்க வேண்டும் தெரி. So how to have that Brahma Bhavana, which was mentioned in verse 37 as Rasayana, as the medicine that removes all the ills, and even while consuming, it brings great joy, it brings bliss. How to meditate, where to meditate is mentioned in this. Ekanta Desat Irand, where there is solitude. So in the relative area, wherever possible, we would see Bhagavan when Annamalai Swami, Bhagavan is discussing some office matters, something not connected with construction, with manager and a few others. And Annamalai Swami hangs around after his discussion about the buildings is over. And Bhagavan says, what are you doing here? This doesn't concern you. You go and don't stand around here. And whenever he would see 2-3 people discussing, Bhagavan says he would skirt around. He will take a longer route, avoid participating in that discussion. However holy it may be, that is not Atma Vichara. For me, it doesn't concern me. They might have been discussing what is happening in Brahmaloka. But then Bhagavan would skirt and go, because all the 3 margas, Bhakti, Yoga and Jnana, are concerned with the individual. Only the Karma Marga involves the sadhana together with others, they say. We include in that the satsang of Bhakti Marga and Jnana Margas, we include that. But Even when we are in satsang, the attention in bhakti, jnana and yoga has to be inside, has to be for the individual to go inward. So therefore, the ekantam, which is supposed, it is praised by Avayar. Inidu, ekantam inidu, she says. Out of all the sweet things, of all the happy things, ekantam, being in solitude, is the best. Irundu, seated, so that your body is quiet, the unnecessary actions are not there in the body. Be seated. Irundu, asai indri, all desires subdued. Velipogadu vendru porikale. The indriyas, we lose control of them when we send them out. So keep them within. Keep the porigal, keep the senses. Something very known to us is coming as a sound, then immediately the ears go there and they give feed to the mind, and the mind starts running about that. So here the Acharya is saying, by not going outside, the indriyas are one. Ekamai andamil anmavai. The Anma is endless. Uruvam tanayin உலகு பரமற்றாம் உருவம் தானன்றேல் உவற்றின் உருவத்தை கண்ணுறுதல் யாவன் எவன் கண் அலார் காட்சி உண்டோ கண் அது தான் அந்தமில்லா கண்ணாமே. What is the nature of the Atmaswarupa? It is the birthless, deathless, ever present, ever luminous, self-luminous I. So it is andamila kan. So that is what is Andamil Anmave. The key point here is Andiyamil Pundiyanai. Andiyamil Pundiyanai. That is Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti is what is Bhagavan covers in verses 8, 9 and 10 in Upadesha Saram. Aniya Bhavatil Avan Ahamagum Ananiya Bhavame. In the Atma of Ishvara, Avanaham, there cannot be any Aniya Bhava, because the entire Brahmanda is permeated by him. Brahmandam Meviya Nadan is Ramana. In Ramana's I, there cannot be I and another. Though his knowledge may permit knowledge of everything, but then never as I and another. Always everything is permeated by I. Anniyamil Bundiyana. With that Ramana Bhava of I, we are asked to join as the Atma Bhava. So by holding the Atma Bhava, where we go to that Anniyamil Pundiyanai. That is what we looked at from Bhagavan's teachings about Brahmandam Meviya Nadan. So what is the test we should have? We should have, whenever we see another, we have not yet come to Brahmandam Meviya Nadan. Now how do we do actions then? I was asking Sweta when discussing this point in reference to another verse, who takes care of my mother these days. We discuss Atma Vichara here. So when I was asking her that now the Bhava, Ananya Bhava is going on. But then Ishvara is aware of his body, and we also boil rice, we cook milk, we live in a house, we do the relative acts. So I was asking her, how are we to know that we are working in God's will, with the grace of God, which is the Spurana? That is, how do we know in sadhana that what actions we do are in tune with the will of God, with the grace of God? The answer that came jointly was that whenever self-attention is there, it becomes very practically clear that whatever the hands are doing, whatever the body is doing, must be in tune with grace, because the ego is taking no credit. The ego is looking at its source. It is humble in not taking credit of any of the actions, but is always inquiring O Bhagavan, who is the source from where I arise. So that self-attention, it gives the jiva, even in sadhana, that it is aligned with God's grace. Practically speaking, it has surrendered whatever is happening. That's why this morning Venkateshji was reading in the morning satsang from Day by Day with Bhagavan. Devraj Mudaliar asks Bhagavan that is it that only the marriage, the place we work, the children we have, the day in which we die, are these only fixed? Or even the smallest of acts, like I have to sit here and talk and some other satsangis have to listen. Is this also fixed? Is this also determined? And Bhagavan says, certainly. Certainly, the body of Nandakumar had to speak, had to disturb the sound waves like that. And the electromagnetic waves had to be loaded and carried across to the listening people, and the people there had to listen. It is all fixed, says Bhagavan. Then what is our freedom, asks Devraj Mudaliar. And Bhagavan says that not to identify with any of those actions and to inquire who we are, that freedom is always there. That freedom cannot be taken away by any force. So that is the freedom that we enjoy in self-attention or in the Ananya Bhava. The Anniyamil Pundiyana Sindhikka Vendum Theriyingal. So even in the normal activities, so-called normal activities, which are all predestined according to Bhagavan, everything there is predestined, he says. At least it is better to take like that. What do I mean by that? That is an argument which is very interesting, that if one can take everything that is happening in the plane of senses as fixed, then one can turn inward. There is no doubt about that. Now, there comes this doubt about the great Sharada Mate and almost all the divine personalities doing something for their devotees. And Sharada Mate explains that by saying that the hand which wrote that destiny can rewrite it or alter it. Now there comes the confusion part, that, and Bhagavan himself, we know, has done so many miracles, and unless it is a change of what is destined, why he would mention that? That in one level, that Amma's fever prayer and so many miracles where Bhagavan says to one of his devotees, when the devotee says, you have saved me this once from the operation, Bhagavan says, how did you forget the other 2 times? That means the jiva being separated from the body is itself stopped by Bhagavan. Now, where does this leave us? It leaves us in no different place, that still the Brahmandam Meviyanathan is the only one to be sought. Whether that zone of comforts, of happenings, whether it is going to be fixed or whether some small element, a new AC is fixed, some AC is removed, how does it matter? So that whole area has to be dropped and one has to turn inward. That is the argument that leads us to the Brahmandam Meviyanathan. If you say some of those happenings can be changed, then we will be unnecessarily banging the doors of Bhagavan or some other power which we feel will answer us for a change in that area, which ultimately it does not matter. Whether you have 2 ACs running or 1 AC running, how does it matter? Or no AC at all, it does not matter. So that area is to be shunned and the Indriyas have to be won by going inward, and one has to hold the Brahmandam Meviyanathan. That is the Nididhyasana, the sadhana mentioned in verse 38. Select a solitude, a place where choice is there. Always opt for being by yourself. Then what is the Brahma Bhava you should have? That which is Rasayana, which has now removed all identities with the body, mind, and the Jiva Bhava, is now holding the Brahma Bhava or is holding Atma Vichara. The Indriyas are turned inward, all the desires are demolished, and the Anya Bhava is also dropped. In Acharya's teaching, the Atma Bhava is held as an objective Bhava, but other than that, nothing is held. But in Bhagavan's teachings, even that Atma Bhava is not held as an Anya. It is inquired as to for whom is this thought. This is the way in which one has to do Nididhyasana according to verse 38. 39 is another interesting verse where our Pindam Nevya Nathan is going to help. Otherwise, it's difficult. Pravilapa Drishti is a difficult concept for even the commentators to explain. Whereas, if you have this idea of Brahmandam Nevya Nathan, the Pravilapa Drishti which is mentioned in this verse 39 is not difficult at all. Buddhiman Kanum Purulevayil. Anmavil Buddhiyal Ondral Purivitte. Buddhiman Kanum Purulevayum Anmavil Buddhiyal Ondral Purivitte. Suddhamam Vinnena Ondrai Vilangidum Anmave Yennuha Eppodume. Buddhiman Kanum Porul Evayum Anmavil Buddhiyal Ondral Purivitte. Suddhamam Vinnena Ondrai Vilangidum Anmave Yennuha Eppodume. This Pravilapa Drishti it is called. That is, all the Drishya one has to absorb in the Drik. Forget about happenings. Forget about knowing. It is consuming. Unadal Khan. All the seen has to be offered as food to the seer. That means no question of whether something happening to you is happening right or wrong. Whether some change can be given by Guru or God or not. No. No doubt about whether to know things or not. Somebody has written the will, whether that will is appropriately written, proper shares have been done or no. All that is to be absorbed in the self. Now, how to understand this? Karnam Ellavatrayam Atma will Pravilapa Drishtiyodu Para. That is, Atma will wonder with. How to do that? That means, see, the Brahmandam Mevyanathan helps there. The Brahmandam Mevyanathan obviously consumes everything. How you occupy and love and cross your entire body and can bring love to another. You can bring love to another when you have full love for the subtle and gross body. When you are at peace with yourself, you can bring peace to others. If you are discontented with yourself, with your physical or mental or lack of sleep or whatever, then how are we to bring peace or happiness to another? So when we are completely happy and contented with what we are, then we bring love to another. That means we can transcend the limited frame to some extent. Similarly, the Brahmandam Mevyanathan is not limited by the Brahmanda. He includes and transcends the whole creation. So the entire creation has to be absorbed in this Purana. How to do that? This Purana can stand alone, while the Brahmandam cannot stand alone. The Brahmandam is a triad. This will be taken up in verse 42, 41. But let's go there specifically to understand how this Pravilapa Drishti, how the Drishya is consumed by the Spurana is what we are seeing. It is consumed. There is no more triad. Irattaigal, Muppudihal, என்றும் ஒன்று பற்றி இருப்பவாம் அவ்வொன்றேதென்று கருத்தினுள் கண்டால் கடலும் அவை. That means the seer seeing seen, which is required for Brahmanda, the knower knowing known, which is required for the knowledge of Brahmanda, that gets absorbed in the I. The clue comes in when Bhagavan says there is a difference between the I thought and the other thoughts. The I thought has this ability to stand alone, whereas the other thoughts can never stand without the drik, without the seer, without the knower. The I alone has this ability to stand alone. And when it stands alone, it has consumed the seer seeing seen, the knower knowing known. So both the gross body of the cosmos and the subtle body of the cosmos with the pravilapa drishti, with the absorption, are now in this Purana. So the one who is identified with this Purana is the richest of the richest of the rich, is the happiest of the happiest of the happy, because all the lokas are now absorbed in that Purana. There is nothing for such a one to possess or know. Tannai arindidu pinnennai voladu ariya. All the knowledge, all the stula, they are all now one with the Atma Swarupa. And that is what is mentioned in this verse. And that Pravilapa Drishti, lot of struggle is there in the various comments that how to bring that. That's where Bhagavan's teachings of Spurana helps us very clearly, that when you are experiencing this Purana, all the cosmos, all the knowledge of cosmos is now one in that I. Meyyaham nadayam tattalindhenarul arunachala. With nothing else to hold, I completely lost my jiva bhava. Only if something else is there other than Meyyaham, can we hold on to that, isn't it? So the Pravilapa Drishti, Buddhiman Kanam Porulevayam, whatever you see. This is what is mentioned by Bhagavan to Nagalakshmi Amma. I think that is her full name. Nagu is how she would be referred to as. She is a great lady. Nagalakshmi Amma is the mother of Ganeshananna and that whole family. And she is told by Bhagavan when she has this discussion about sari and beauty, Bhagavan says both the sari and the beauty are in you. That is Pravilapa Drishti. Whatever you see is in you. And Bhagavan doesn't answer how. He says just it is in you, that's all. She first says, I didn't ask for the sari. I only said it is beautiful. Then Bhagavan says, why do you look for beauty outside of you? It is in you. It is in the Pravilapa Drishti of I is the real beauty. Other things are all destructible. What beauty is there in the outside? When you are seeing with eyes which can be destroyed so shortly, how you can see beauty with the eyes? You can see only that which will be perishable. Real beauty is the Atma Swarupa, the I. So the whole concept of beauty has to be absorbed in the I. Somebody is practicing the aesthetics. He has come through the path of aesthetics, seeing beauty everywhere or the beautiful in everything. Such a one too has to end his journey only in the Atma Swarupa, because that is the real beauty. What is the most beautiful thing? That which is imperishable, that which is self-luminous. What a beauty! All beauty is in that Swaswarupa, in that I. That is Pravilapa Drishti, and that is what is required here. Buddhiman Kanum Purulevayam. Evayum. Anmavil Buddhiyal Ondral Purivitte. It is one with the Spurana. Suddhamam Vinana Ondrai. That one, that Spurana, it does not have any dimensions. So it is that Chidakasha in which the whole creation is present. It is that in which the whole creation is absorbed. Then It is also the screen on which the whole picture is shown. There is no picture. In the Swarupa, in the Swaswarupa, there is no picture to see. There is only the I. But for the journey, we can take that it is the screen on which the picture is shown. Vindana ondrai vilangidum aanmavai ennuga eppodum e. That is the verse number 39. And verse 40. Ulladunarndon uruvam varnamudal உள்ள மயல்கள் ஒருங்கொழித்து உள்ளம் திகழ் பரிபூன்றம் சிதானந்தம் தானாய் திகழ்ந்திடுவன் நாளும் தெளி உள்ளதுணர்ந்தோன் one who is experiencing the Brahmandam Meviyanathan, one who is feeling the I. As Bhagavan says to that lady in talk 24, when thoughts have to cease and reason vanish for the I to rise and be felt. Felt, it is feeling, it is bhava, it is anbu, it is anburu, it is the healing spirit. It heals all the negative emotions that are there, that are all gone. The jiva is cleansed and absorbed as the chidanandam. It is chit anandam. I. It is that in which Lakshmi Amma is one. How she becomes the deity whom we worship is because she has lost her jiva bhava and has become one in that I, which has consumed her, which is the real happiness into which she has merged. That is ulla porul. Ulladunarndon uruvam varunam mudal. There is no form for such a one to see. There is no color to know or see. Ayalgal orungolindon, all alien things joined together and thrown. Only the I is there. Ullam tigal paripundra chidanandam. That is chit anandam. It is now felt as I. If you hold that and keep quiet, not ask anything, Bhagavan says to Gambiram Seshwaya, it is a bhava, it is anburu. But hold that anburu and don't ask anything of it, then it will remove your I am the body idea completely and it will also become quiet. It will not have the I spurana. It will become quiet, but the earlier vanishing of the Anya will remain. The quietness will be so quiet in Shivam that one will not lose track with the Anya Bhava again. Any thoughts or any emotions as alien will not be sought after because they have all been burnt at that stake of I. They have all been with the Pravilapa Drishti offered as food to the Brahmandam Meviyanathan, who alone is shining as I. Bhagavan says, go there, hold that Chidananda, but don't ask anything of that Chidananda. Keep quiet. Then that will remove your I am the body idea completely, and it will also quieten itself into the Atma Swarupa. There is no Shakti or Ananda apart from existence, apart from Sat. Sat itself is Chit. Sat itself is Ananda. Satyahi Chit, Chittayahi Aham. That Sat is the simplest being. There is no Spurana. At the same time, there is no Anya. There is nothing other than that because all Anya have been burnt by holding the I. That is, you have to come through the I. Without paying the toll there, you cannot say I have come to quietness because vasanas will be there. It will throw you out back to samsara. So one has to burn the vasanas, one has to burn the stula and sukshma sharira attachments by holding the I, by holding that Chidananda. One is identified with that, one becomes a non-doer, one is a Jivan Mukta, the Jiva Bhava vanishes holding that I. Bhagavan says, hold that and keep quiet. It will take you through the jnana bhumikas which is there. The ayah itself will take you. You don't need to do sadhana there. At the right time, it will make you do the sadhana or whatever. But the journey from Jivan Mukta, the first, the basic stage of Brahmavid to Brahmavid Varishta is not the journey of the Jiva. There is no doership there. Only the Ishvara is making us do. That clarity is there. Therefore, that journey is completely with the grace of God, and that one is in tune with the grace of God will be known by that the Jivan Mukta. That's why Bhagavan says in spiritual instructions that some Bhagavan Natanananda Swami asks Bhagavan, when this Brahma Jnana is taken as Turiyaga, or the highest stage is known to be transcendental, why doesn't everyone wish to be that? Why does someone remain as Brahmavid, not Vara or Varishta? Bhagavan says, you go to Brahmavid stage only by losing your doership, only by losing your desiringship. Therefore, where is the question of desiring to be the Varishta? You get there only by knowing that the the Ishvara Shakti, the Chidananda, is the only real doer. There is no other doer in this whole creation. So you get there only by that. So from there, the sadhana, is not done by the Jiva's will. It is done at the will of Ishvara, as is every other action. So that is the 40th verse, that go up to the Chidananda, this Purana, and Tiganduduvan Nalum Teli, that you yourself are with that Chidananda. When Muruganar Swamigal asks Bhagavan, there was this question by Vidyaji, I don't know whether she is attending today. From the talks, there is this talk, only 2-3 places Muruganar's name is mentioned in the talks. This is one of those talks. And Muruganar asks her that I am experiencing this Purana during the waking state. But how to experience it in deep sleep? How to experience it in deep sleep? That means I have lost my doership in waking state. How to know that I am free of doership even in deep sleep? This is the question. It's a very interesting question, very rare question in talks. And Bhagavan says, ultimately he says, that if the king has entered the court, entered the house has hall, kitchen and other things, like the waking state, dream and deep sleep. If the king has visited your home and has had his chai in the hall, then will you end up saying that he did not visit the kitchen? No. Similarly, when throughout the waking state, you continue the Spurana and your non-identification with actions and body, then before going to sleep, you do that, you will understand that this Spurana continued in deep sleep, and the first thought you will get on waking up will be of the self. That is the indication that the king, though you don't know, the king was there. That is the Jivan Mukti Sthiti, but not Turiyaga. Turiyaga is beyond the 3 states. Turiyaga is clear that the 3 states don't limit me. This Purana is so clear of the 3 states that it is self-luminous without any clarification required regarding the presence in deep sleep or presence in waking state. But then that is the holding on of Chidananda during the waking state. Be non-different from the Chidananda, this Purana, throughout the waking state. Then you will know that the king was there in your deep sleep also. That is the teaching of Bhagavan. Let us sit in Atma Ucharam, the Brahmastra, which is a direct practicing of the Atma bodham. Atma bodham at least gives us the one step less of holding up Brahma Bhavana. Bhagavan, he assumes that we are capable of holding the Atma within the I thought. And bowing to his expectation of us, of his trusting us, of our ability to hold the Atma. Let us sit in Atma Vicharam for the next 10 minutes or till 8 o'clock when Akka will address us. Ujjalji, you'll set the time for 8 o'clock. Thank you. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining is the self in all beings. So we are in the Nididhyasana versus the practice as Nandakumarji brought us with the introduction through the self-enquiry, and we completed it by holding on to that, crossing even the Aham Spurana, but very sweetly Nandakumarji said one has to go through the path of the Aham Spurana. And the instruction of Bhagavan was referred to where one has to let go of thoughts and let go of reason. And the examples of Cow Lakshmi and Nagalakshmi Amma were sweetly brought home to us, and also the reference to Muruganar, the rare reference to Muruganar in the talks. The point of the bhava was also emphasized. It's a bhava, it is not a thought, it is not a reasoned experience. The Nididhyasana, the leaving of everything and the merging of everything into the self. All the experiences are taken back to the self. All the experiences are seen to be the self. At one point, I just chanced upon an article in the Mountain Path. And that article said, if so long as you think of your thoughts as apart from you, you will have to keep on fighting with them. So long as you think there is one thought and I am there, it is my thought, you will have to keep on fighting with that, trying to get that thought back. But when everything is known to be the consciousness itself, then where is this conflict? So that article pointed to the Nididhyasana. It was a very moving article that suddenly, in a sense, it was a revelation that what actually is this thought? What actually are all these things? All experiences, Bhagavan says, they all happen because of the mind. Yesterday, on the 2nd of October, Nuchur Anna, Sri Ramanacentre, he was speaking to us about Shakti and Shanti, Ramana Shakti, Ramana Shanti. And he was saying, in Bhagavan's teachings, the mind is the first Shakti. That is, mind is Shakti. What is this mind? It is Adishaya Shakti, says Bhagavan. Why does he say it is an Adishaya Shakti? Because it is there in you and it is not there apart from you, O Arunachala. This is what it says, Bhagavan says in Ashtakam. He says, it is there in you, but never apart from you. So, Nandakumarji was repeatedly saying that the whole world may be seen, but it is not seen as Anniyam. It is not seen as apart. So when one looks at the thought, one may say, see, what is this stuff? I sometimes question myself or ask others also in the sharing. What is the stuff of which thoughts are made? What is the material of which thoughts are made? If we look at our Anubhava, all experiences are thoughts. All experiences are thoughts. Whether we are seeing or hearing, whether they are sense experiences or pranic experiences, meaning to say, concerning with hunger, pain, or other such, or some other emotions. All the experiences are happening only in the mind. Because it's clear to us that, as Bhagavan says, that when there is no mind in deep sleep, when the mind has gone back to its source by the Ishvara Shakti, by the force of the Ishvara Shakti, not by its own volition. It has gone there. There's no experience of any world. So everything is happening in this mind. But how is it happening, says Bhagavan? It's happening, appears to be happening in the form of thoughts. All the experiences are in the form of thoughts. So Bhagavan says, go to the key, go to the source, go to the adhara. What is that? What is the adhara of a thought, or what is the material of which a thought is made? If we say that a pot is made of clay, what is a thought made of? What is a thought? A thought is nothing but consciousness only, but it appears to be a mixture. It appears to be the mixture of an object and the feeling of a subject, the feeling that I am experiencing this. So Bhagavan says, hold on to the I element in the thought rather than holding on to the object element. If we take an example of a physical example of something that we are seeing, say we see a movie, it's easier for us to understand in a movie, although everything that we see in this world, physics tells us it's only light. We are not seeing any objects, we are only seeing light. We are seeing the play of light. But when we look at a movie, it is easy for us to understand. When we see the example of a movie, it is easy for us to understand that all the images in the movie are pure light only. There is nothing apart from light in the movie. So when we look at our thoughts, actually there is nothing apart from the light of consciousness. And we can also understand this by our dream experience. When we wake up from the dream, we are able to understand that all the experiences in our dream were nothing but our own mind, our own thoughts. There was no other person, there was no world. Bhagavan form we may see. We may see the picture of Bhagavan. We may see our own picture. We may see our own body standing over there sitting. We see others. It's all only mind pictures. We are able to see that. And what is that Shakti from which all these mind pictures were created in the dream? What is that light by which all these pictures were created in the dream? What can it be apart from consciousness? So, in this practice, when we recognize, and as I said, when I read that article, it was very beautiful to see that there is nothing apart from it. But where does self-inquiry take us? It takes us to the actual experience of that non-duality. When I think that everything, even the thought that everything is only consciousness is gives so much of joy. Then there is the question of that actual the joy which is described in the final verse which was taken today, and so sweetly we were told what can be a greater joy, what can be a greater achievement. Nandakumarji said it so emphatically, so joyously. In fact, he was saying, what can be a greater joy than abiding in the self? So, what is it that we are seeking other than the joy? Why are we not getting back to that? So, the self inquiry, this nididhyasana, which is pointed out over here, every part of the nididhyasana it clears, as Nandakumarji would say in some other context, many granthis for us, the many knots, the many attachments that we have, and becomes an aid to transcend that granthi. So in the 39th verse, we are also told to transcend the granthi of reason, as he said. Not only thoughts, reason, the buddhi also has to be transcended. That's why we find that if there is a distinction, because sometimes in the shastras, in the traditional approach, manas and buddhi are treated as two aspects of the mind. The manas is emotions and buddhi is the reason. And this Bhagavan points to for us in Upadesha Saram when he says that it is jnana varjita. And Bhagavan says that it is without any, there is no knowing in that experience. There is no known in that experience because it is abedam. There is no division. And when there is no knowing and there is no known, it means there is no unknown also. Because this knowing and not knowing are only pairs, they are relative to each other. So there is no ajnanam also. That's why Bhagavan says that it's not tamas also. Vigraha, indriya, prana. Dhi, tamaha. Dhi and tamas. It does not come into the realm of dhi or tamas. So it is just pure by itself. And self-enquiry makes us cross that even maybe that subtle point of the use of the buddhi in nididhyasana, in manana. Surely the buddhi is used to understand this. In nididhyasana, what happens is that we become aware. I know this with my mind. I know with my mind that, say, even in self-enquiry, what is the manana and what is the nididhyasana? I know with my mind that I am not the thought. In nididhyasana, the moment the thought arises, we already know it is not I. So the following of the thought will not be there. The pursuance of the thought will not be there. The clarity that this thought is not I at all. It's a mere image which is rising and setting. That will be known to us. That is a practice. Similarly, here in this nididhyasana, this ananya bhava, which Bhagavan has spoken of in the Upadesha Saram, also referred to by Nandakumar ji, that ananya bhava becomes a practice. There is moving towards a practice of the ananya bhava, which the ananya bhava of all the thoughts is when all the thoughts merge into the aham spurana, and then the aham spurana merges into the self, and there will be pure ananya bhava. And that is, Bhagavan says, when a foreigner asked him, Mercedes Acosta, she asked him, you say all are one. You mean to say that I, my servant, and you are all one? And Bhagavan smiled and said, yes, the servant, you, the monkey is there, and I, we are all the same in one consciousness, in one consciousness. And she was surprised. She never expected that. She said, the monkeys are a different species. He said, no, all are one in one consciousness. In one consciousness. So that is the bhava from which the jnani operates, as Bhagavan says in Ulladu Narpadu in the Sankarshan. He says that for Ulagunmayahum Unarvillarku Ullarku Ulagalavam Unmai Unararku. But what is the experience of the jnani? It is Tan Odirum Nan. That alone is all enveloping. The self is all enveloping. Bhagavan says this. Even when he had the experience of this Atma Shakti, as a boy of 16, the first time he said, other thoughts may come and go, but the I continued like the Shruti note in music. Everything, all actions, all thoughts, everything was springing from this, and it was something which included and transcended the body, because the question started with the death of the body. Bhagavan says it included and included but transcended the body, and by that Bhagavan says that the entire world included and transcended the entire world, and this is the extraordinary grace of Bhagavan. By that he is taking us into the very core through this teaching to abide steadily over there by that immense grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana to all.